Hello and welcome back. Once again, it's time for the golden age of DC Comics 365 days, where I take this beloved hardcover coffee table book given to me about 2 decades ago by one of my best friends. It's been surfing my coffee table ever since. It is well loved, it's been well read, and I thought it would make great material to have old-fashioned comic book shop conversations with you on my channel right here, right now. So if you're tuned in and if you love comic books as much as I do, you're in the right place at the right time. The Golden Age of DC Comics is a 2004 Abrams Press publication. This has been curated and written by Les Daniels, Chip Kidd, and Geoff Spear. You can find the link in the description to the Amazon page. Last time I checked, I believe it was about $7.50 American. And you too can have your own copy. You could play along at home. You could give this as a gift to a comic book fan. It's great. I love my copy, and I'm taking the book for its intended purpose. I'm cracking this book open, going to today's date. We're going to look at some comic book art. We're going to read the blurb, and then we're going to talk about comic books. And we're talking about comic books every day for the rest of the year. We really are. 3 o'clock p.m. U.S. Eastern. Tune in and find out. But the Golden Age of DC Comics runs from 1938 until 1955. The Silver Age from 1955 until 1970. The Bronze Age, I'm a Bronze Age baby, 1970 to 1985. And the Copper Age begins in 1985. We can have our conversations about the ages of comic books and anything you want to talk about, or even some questions, put them into the comment section. And yeah, let's talk comic books. That's what we're here for. So let's crack this book open. It is June the 2nd, and today we have story by Jerry Siegel, art by Bernard Bailey, from More Fun Comics, number 62, from December of 1940. We have the Spectre. Dun, dun, dun. And he's talking to a cloud. No, actually, it's an oversized brain. But we'll get to that in the blurb. Let's find out more about this panel. It takes brains to defeat an all-powerful superhero like the Spectre. Big brains. This one was created by a certain Professor Fenton, and it has decided to use its mental powers to rule the nation, the world, and ultimately, the universe. Nothing seems to stand in its way except the Spectre. But that turns out to be enough as he deflects the brain's thought waves back to their source. "No, no, I don't want to die," it cries. And in fact, it doesn't. It's last seen reduced to its normal size, sitting on a street corner, under a street light. It may have been a big brain, but it wasn't really bright. Ah ha 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 ha. Yes, let's look again. So that's a brain. And look at the dialogue. It looks like George Lucas ripped this off for his Empire Strikes Back. "Join forces with me, and we shall end this destructive conflict and bring order to the galaxy." "I'll never join you." Oh, I'm picking up that vibe, aren't you? Well, this is the Spectre, and he is one of the first examples of something that we call today OP. What does OP mean? You probably heard it in your comic book capsules if you're following YouTube creators. OP means overpowered. Someone that can come in and decide just the conflict just with minimal effort. That's their power set. That they are super powered. They're overpowered. And the Spectre was one of the first OPs. I mean, Superman's powers, he gained powers through stories. He needed something to get out of a situation. Well, he developed a super prefix, like super hearing, super strength, super breath, super smarts, super reasoning, super senses, super smell. The list goes on and on and on. But with the Spectre, Here's from the wiki. I like to read from wikis. But originally, Spectre was had a human host. It was a human part of the Spectre. And it was a policeman, Jim Corrigan. Jim Corrigan began his career as the Spectre in the early 1940s. Literally, More Fun Comics number 52 in February of 1940 was Jim Corrigan's first appearance. When the hard-boiled police detective was murdered, put into cement, and thrown into the water by crime boss Gat Benson, Jim Corrigan's soul left his body and went on towards the afterlife. Instead of going into heaven, his spirit refused to pass into the afterlife, and his rage was heard by the Archangel Michael, who bonded Jim's spirit to the spirit of God's vengeance, the Spectre. He was condemned to return to Earth for 60 years of punishing wrongdoings. As the Spectre, Jim Corrigan returned to the mortal plane as a partial human, where he proceeded to rain his vengeance on Gat Benson and his accomplices. In the process, however, Jim's fiancée, Clarice Winton, was mortally wounded. Using his newfound powers, he was able to return Clarice to life, but ended their relationship in order to spare her any further pain. He also broke off with his partner and became more of a lone agent, trying to distance himself from mortal ties, although he remained on his job at the police force. Eventually, Corrigan was given back his life using something called the Ring of Life, so he was resurrected. Probably one of the first instances of comic book death. And comic book death is a clever term because there are very few comic book deaths that stick, such as Uncle Ben Reilly from Amazing Spider-Man. That's a comic book death that has stuck. But in More Fun 90, April of 1943, Jim Corrigan was removed from the feature altogether. He enlisted in the military for World War II service, and the Spectre was reduced to more of a guardian angel. And but the Spectre's been used, and I grew up seeing the Spectre in all of these DC comic books, especially in the Bronze Age. And it was always kind of like a horror aspect because you knew the Spectre was, basically the spirit of vengeance. Yeah, that's the Spectre also gets a little, they're comic books. They get a little convoluted. That's part of its charm and in its nature. That eventually Hal Jordan, the Silver Age Green Lantern, the Bronze Age Green Lantern, was turned into a bad guy named Parallax. He was infected by the yellow fear energy, and he sacrificed his life to save the sun. The sun went out, and he was able to reignite the sun with his powers, therefore redeeming his horrible acts as Parallax. Yet, now dead, Hal Jordan became the Spectre for a while. And he had a part in bringing back Oliver Queen, who was dead at the time as well. The Spectre brought back Oliver Queen to life as Hal was loved his friend, and that's what he could do. The least he could do of having all of this God power and or part of God's power. And so we've been talking about comic books, and we're going to be talking about comic books every day for the rest of the year. So tune in tomorrow, 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern. We'll find out who we're talking about when we turn the page tomorrow. Like and subscribe if you could be so kind. I'd love to earn your subscription. I talk about cooking. I'm a professional chef. I have a playlist for that called What's Cooking. I'm a spiritual guy, an ordained minister, an amateur theologian. Hashtag Lighten Up. It's about enlightenment and how spirituality can help your daily life. We talk about gratitude lists and spirituality, and I have a playlist for that as well. And so thank you so much for tuning in. God bless. Namaste. Good luck, and we will see you again tomorrow. Thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye.